Keisha TK Dutes. I make radio. I teach radio. I love radio. And I am a Black woman with immigrant parents, born in America. I fancy myself queer, but also that's difficult. We can dig deeper later. But because I also hate people in general. And that's who I am.
Yeah.
I love people, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, TK, I think you like being called TK.
Yes.
Right? Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks.
And I'm excited to get to chat with you. I've sort of quasi known you for a bit, so I'm happy to get to have more of a full conversation. And I'm really happy that you're in my city right now, in Minneapolis.
I love to. First of all, I'm loving Minneapolis. Y'all have great food here.
Oh,
and cute restaurants.
That's meaningful. You're from New York, so like.
Right, I can get a falafel anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, literally anywhere. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, falafel, boom, it's
just
here.
next to the bed.
Next to the bed. That's New York.
There's just a guy.
There's a guy next to the bed making a falafel, and then a taco, and then a sandwich. It's so vast.
Now that's all I want to talk about. Well, so what I typically do with my guests, the first thing I like to ask is there an issue? Is there a question you get all the time? Is there something people say, way people react to you, or something you experience or have experienced regularly that sort of is connected to who you are, how the world sees you, that maybe you are tired of dealing with, or feel like you can articulately sort of unpack about what's happening there?
Yeah. I would say kind of this idea that I'm some sort of scrappy underdog from the inner city, like these tropes of young Black people that like have come up from nothing. And so like what happens is I'll host something or I'll express something intelligently and folks will be shocked.
Yeah.
But then they'll want to like they'll kind of want to like use that as their personal teachable moment, and that's a lot to do in like a general 5-minute. Hey, like, first of all, I'm surprised that you're smart. Second of all, can you explain more things about hard concepts?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like yes, thank you, I'm smart, but no, not right now. And it kind of feels harsh, but I was explaining to someone at Giant Steps, and that kind of happened to me and another Black woman. And it was like, I understand what's happening and I understand where it's coming from, but in the moment, this just not the place for it. So it's like, read the room, right? Read the room. And then remember that there's like, this problem we've been having in America, and not just America, in the world, of racism, sexism, all the things that people got issues with. Like, people have been teaching this stuff, people have been doing the work. So I like really resent sometimes having to deal with like, hey, give me a 5-minute primer on all the things that oppress you and how I'm doing it specifically, and like you like not realizing that that's you're oppressing me right now. Which
is, you could just say that, but that isn't going to land.
No. Well. So then I kind of do that whole dance where like, okay, I in my mind I'm making fast calculations. Is this a teachable moment, or is this person trying to debate me? I'm doing a lot of math in my head in that moment. I'm reading their body language. I'm trying to figure out if they're even listening at that point. Once I've said like, that's a loaded question. So maybe we can talk about this another time. So it's really weird because I present as, and when I show up in the world, I'm like a everyman. People kind of throw me in that bucket, right? Like, so I'm approachable because I market myself as that, right? Like, I'm approachable. I'm your friend from next door, but also as your friend from next door that's approachable and doing stuff publicly. I think folks don't realize, like, you're not the only one that asked me that, or that even think about your black friend next door, or think about your woman friend next door, your gay friend. You're not the first person. And there's research online. People have been making movies. Like the movie Roots doesn't exist for like no reason. Like Roots happened and then they made a mini series with all these famous people. Like it's marketed so you understand it. You don't have to ask me anything.
They've made 2 Rootses.
They've made 2 Rootses. That's how oppressive this ish is. They made 2 and y'all still got questions? Come on, man. So like I struggle knowing that all that info is out there and folks are just willingly ignorant.
Yeah, well,
or staying willingly ignorant.
One of the things in all of you just shared, I mean, you've captured a lot in that paragraph, is how much empathy you are rolling with in those moments where you are just a person in the world who is immediately forced into this. I need you to be a supportive, compassionate teacher who stifles whatever this has to do with you personally for me right now. And your first thought is, what does this person need? What's the, you're doing math to figure out how to survive and keep yourself safe in all the ways, but you're also like, how can I show up for this person in this moment?
Because I don't want you to go out into the world either.
Right.
Like that's the other part of the math equation is that now if I don't answer or if I don't give a satisfactory answer, are you going out in the world and saying, black women have an attitude, which we are like, people are biased towards black women because that's a stereotype that we fall under.
And the black women I know, the things I know they've experienced, I would have a huge attitude.
Every day.
Like aside from that being a myth, it also would be justified.
Right.
If you had to do that math, if I had to do the thing you just described all day, every day, I would be an angry person like all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
the first time I met you, I was like, she's delightful. I want to be her best friend.
And that's what I like. That's what I want to be.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be delightful. And then in those moments, it's like someone popping your balloon, right? You're having a great day, you're walking around, and then somebody comes up to you, and even if they mean well, so instead of the balloon being popped by a needle, which is like a violent force, like a little cute bird came along and just boop, and I'm sad now, but it's not the bird's fault. But also, bird, you knew you had a sharp beak.
The bird could have known about balloons by now.
At this point of evolution,
look, just go to any tree, and there's loads of books on what happens to balloons when your beak touches them.
Exactly.
I'm curious.
We've gone to a place.
This is a metaphor I'm really enjoying, and I think this is now a nature show. I'm curious if you feel comfortable doing it, if you are able to tell me some of the things people say. I think I understand what you're describing, but I still there's an abstraction to it. So I certainly do not want you to re-traumatize yourself. Yeah. But do any words, phrases, does someone come up to say something to you that I was really impressed with? What is the nature of that something's going on, but someone who I will say often looks like me isn't even aware. By their own, I think willful ignorance is what you're choosing, but is I'm saying this thing that I think's a compliment. What are they actually saying?
Well, with the I think a lot of black people experience this. Barack Obama experiences it. You speak so well. Yeah. Right. That's not a compliment.
Yeah.
That's
so
just
articulate.
It's just a fact. Yeah. Right. And also, what is speaking well? Right. If we talk about language, if we talk about English language, and we talk about what it is and what dialects are and all that other stuff, and regional language, right? So people from the South have a certain way they speak, and it's very classist of some people to say that they sound dumb or whatever, but people think that of people in the South, right? Not to say they think that, but
I mean, if you go see a comedy show and someone wants to do the voice of a dumb person, it often has a Southern accent. And that is a cultural thing. That is not, I think that's a perceived that's less intelligent instead of different. Yeah. I think that idea of, you sound like me and I'm the best example of a person.
Exactly. Congrats to you. And I'm like, that is not a compliment.
No, because you're garbage right now.
You're terrible. And all those things and all those Southern dialect, Midwestern dialect, all the different parts in African American vernacular English, AVE, Ebonics. I hate that term, but it's a term, a slang, whatever. That's a language. That's like a real like language. And so when someone comes up to me and says that, that's not a compliment.
Yeah.
And they're smiling and their eyes are filled with genuine like.
And does that make it worse? Like, do you feel like, is there, and maybe worse isn't the right word, but is there a thing of like, someone is so proud that they know they're about to go be a good person.
Yes.
And tell this person who they know of as having less than them. The thing you said about like, well, you're this poor, sad girl from the streets.
Yeah.
From an urban environment.
And also there's a shock there too, because like now I've performed up to their standards.
Right.
So not only can I speak, I've performed up to their standards, and I'm just, it doesn't make it worse. It just makes it harder to like, I'm used to it by now, but sometimes you're just in a groove and it just makes it harder to shake off.
Yeah.
Right? There's another person next to them and you're like, now you're looking at the line of people that want to chat with you and you're like, okay, now you're like, how many more people are going to say this thing? You know?
Right.
Especially when now I'm getting to a place where I'm starting to travel and like I go and like New York City is awesome because I meet so many different people and it happens in New York City, trust me. But like, but also like in white spaces, right? White towns, white, you know, or Asian, you know, places where the culture is like, yo, we just thought black meant dumb or whatever. So there's a lot of non-white cultures that think that as well. So that's all, and that is almost even it's not a shocker, but it makes me sadder in the moment.
Well, I think
when non-white people participate in that, it makes me sadder in the moment.
Well, and that, I mean, I see that it seems like that speaks to how dominant culture can be. Like that idea, like the normalizing of whiteness as goodness, the normalizing of this way of being, of behaving, talking, speaking, dressing, showing up as the professional or the appropriate way to be is so powerful that there's a lot of that sort of internalized oppression pieces. So it sounds like that thing you're saying also is like, oh, it got you too. You know, like you're trying to fight that off. You're trying to exist in this space without being eaten up by this space.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, how do you wrestle with that knowledge that can happen? Like, how hard is it for you to try to just relax and let your guard down, knowing that
that
you're at a heightened vulnerability? Like I feel like you're someone who's actively trying to be relaxed and present in yourself in a space.
I try to head it off at the pass. I've done in the past. Actually, I like to think in the past 5 to 10 years, I've done less code switching than I ever have in my life. And
that's like a win, to not have to. To
not have to, that's a win. Or to even just turn it off a little bit, right? So like for folks that might not be familiar with the term, it's just basically, you know, we exist in many different forms. So like code switching in the gay community or for a gay man could just mean like he's talking in the usual way with his friends. That is what on TV has given us, the stereotypical gay male voice. And then he comes to work where he knows it's not friendly. And then he like, you know,
just puts a little more bass or something.
More bass. It's what we think of as more masculine, and that's for that guy. That's like that sucks.
That's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and we do it. So like we do this so much. So like at work, even a little bit in interviews, I've been turning it off, and I just show up as my whole self. And like also, this is part of reading the room, right? I'm not gonna go in there like mother effer, whatever, you know. But I will be like, I just feel more comfortable, and I'll just be more linguistically myself, and like physically, like when I style myself, right? I just can't do the whole pencil skirt and shoes thing and straighten my hair. And I already, the hair thing as a black woman, as a black person, what I perceived as a haircut and just me making a decision to have locks in my hair, I didn't realize people thought it was younger people or like my peers thought it was cool. I just thought I was cutting my hair. So now I take that perspective and I'm thinking, oh, okay, Now I'm walking into a room with this cool haircut. I got the sides shaved, and I got like a pineapple thing going with my locks, and they're locked, so you can tell she's never going to straighten that.
Yeah.
So, okay, now I'm thinking, are they thinking she is going to show up to a job site and can't perform or they'll not accept her?
Right.
Does she ever put
Right.
that
They're
in
like, look, we are okay with it, but are our clients going to be okay with it?
What do I like? And I'm like, man, like now, so I try to head them off at the pass, like, but I do just show up in the world.
Yeah.
So I try to like, okay, great. You see this, it's not going away. I put it in like my most professional bun, right? That's as far as I'll go. But some people will wear a wig that day, get the job and take the wig off.
Yeah.
And these are tactics, things that we have to employ. That's like visual and physical code switching. And then the language, right? So like, all right, I'm not going to go to the interviewer and be like, yo, but I'm also not going to be like, well, ma'am, like that's
the sorry to bother you white voice.
And that movie that's our world.
I would like to suggest that movie to folks.
Sorry to bother you. Watch that, y'all, and come back and leave comments on the on the post here.
That's great. I'll steal some of Boots Riley's attention.
Watch it and tell us what you think about it, man.
It takes some turns.
It takes some turns.
Like, oh, this is science fiction now.
But the first part is all real.
Yeah.
Like, it's legit and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's true, you can make more money. Mm-hmm. Like, if people never saw me and I did the other voice, I probably could make mega bucks or something, like, I just don't feel like it. Or if I dressed a different way or whatever. Yeah. So I just need folks to realize that literally showing up is already making me tired.
Well, I mean, that is huge. I think that is a huge statement. Just showing up makes you tired. And I think that doesn't get the weight it deserves, like that lived experience. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that's something that I can't live that idea, but I can spend the work to like logically understand it and know I don't know it also. And for some reason even that work of trying to understand is viewed as like too tiring for folks who don't live it. Yeah. Meanwhile, someone like you is like, all I'm asking you to do is understand. You don't even have to live this and you won't be bothered. Like that piece for you. I think that's that bird you were talking about. That's like, look, I'm not even saying you got to be a balloon, but just like, just know what it's like for a balloon a little bit.
Just get it.
Yeah.
And kind of like,
let me have a string to
have that perspective
to move around. And I think an interesting thing is how much you're making decisions about you are or aren't going to do you aren't going to compromise certain ways. Yeah. But the choice for you is shifting what success means in order that you get to be who you are a little more. Yeah. Or going towards sort of a traditional idea of success, but sacrificing some self. Yeah. And I think there's ways like every kind of person does small versions of that. There's like, I could have a corporate job and make more money, but I don't have to give up the same things to have a fulfilling job. Yeah. And that dynamic seems really complex. And I wonder how that works with you, who is someone who's in the mixture of making your own work and sort of being sort of not fully like self-employed, but you do like contracty kind of work. You're like in an interesting gray space of like, you work with and for folks.
With and for, semi-freelance, sort of freelance.
Yeah. But do you think that makes more space for you to get to be you, or does it just change what that dynamic is like?
A little bit of both. Yeah. Right? Because now, like, I kind of am seeing what has happened, right? Like, I've been fighting this internal battle with myself and also externally with like jobs and opportunities, especially in the creative sector where everybody feels like, whoa, we're hip and we're cool. And, it's time to like hire people of color and women for everything, right? But like, when you realize that is more of a cheer than a action, is really disappointing, especially to a person like me that has committed to like, I don't want to say calling out, but like calling in these places, and also what they perceive when they perceive you as a like independent, when you're independent in anything, whatever race you are or gender or whatever, people already look down at your art form.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not a network, it's not legit.
Right.
Meanwhile, I've been doing this work for longer than a lot of those folks have been doing this work. So that thing, then there's the rest of it, right? Like, okay, well, where have you been and who has hired you? But then I'm like, well, nobody official has hired me because y'all are not hiring my demographic so that we can prove to you that we could do the thing. So I'm doing independent stuff so I can show you that I could do the pro stuff.
Yeah.
But and it's a thing that cycles and cycles and cycles. And now there's this rallying cry of let's hire women in POCs. And it's a rallying cry right now.
It's not inclusion.
That's what they think it is. It's
Right.
what they want it to be. There's a lot of let's put folks on a panel and call it a day. Let's have some black hosts of a thing.
Right.
But we need black producers, and not only producers because you can fire producers. We need black people in HR, but we need diversity in HR. We need diversity up the ladder. If all the people making the decisions are still white at the top or the dominant culture at the top, then none of this, all this middle management-ish, none of that matters, honestly, and then they wonder why are these people leaving.
Yeah.
Like, just to give you an insight on like the energy or the vibe. When black folks are in a space that is of the dominant culture, and I think that a lot of POCs can attest to this, right? We'll be there, and because we have to be there. We want to be part of the thing. We want to be included. But there's also this thing where we look for each other in the room. We pass each other in the hallway, a head nod. We might not have time to stop. When we do have time to stop, it's some magic. The mask falls. Hey, girl, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, I heard what they said about, like, we're talking about the issues literally right under folks' noses. And nobody's there to bear witness to that. And it's like we're having our own private meetings inside this big public meeting, and we keep saying the thing and we keep showing up. But, for some reason, the next year the conference comes around, it's the same thing.
Same conversation. Yeah.
So it's like, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. So much that I forgot the question.
I just asked your name. I don't know what happened.
And then 30 minutes later.
Just went off the rails. I think you've articulated that thing of, I wonder where, and this isn't just a question for you to answer, because I think part of the challenge is like asking like a black woman to solve the problem of how folks treat black women is like what you just described.
Yeah.
You're like, will you come on this panel and tell us how to fix all these things?
Yeah.
You're like, well, don't do this. Like, don't do this thing you're doing right now.
And hopefully next year we won't need to have this panel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or I should put the panel together and then I can get people. But do you have thoughts about, obviously these are like structural systemic racism and patriarchy. Yeah. Sort of tied into capitalism. I feel like
it's like a delicious breakfast cereal.
It is. The breakfast cereal is the whole thing. But like, what is the work to be done to get the folks who are in line to meet you after an event?
Yeah.
To know. I mean, ideally, I'd like them to actually change their mindset so they have an understanding that their way is not the right way. It's not the only way. Like different isn't better kind of thing. But like, how do we get folks, what do folks need to, is it just like you said, like they just need to go do the research and do the learning?
I mean, honestly, a lot of it.
It's not an access to that knowledge, right?
Now it's not that we don't have ways to get it.
Yeah.
And it hasn't, even before internet.
Right.
Folks were delivering that information.
Yeah.
So the work really is in committing to doing some of that yourself. And I understand, it's vast, so you might have to get someone to like start you off.
Yeah, and you got to pick an area to focus on.
Yeah, and instead of choosing an arbitrary person that you just met, you might go up to them and thank them for their contribution to the talk or the day, or you say, hey, you've opened my eyes. I'm gonna look up this person that you said. First of all, show me you're listening.
Yeah.
Right. Show me you're listening.
That's just good retention skills. That's
it. And then go back to those things and really read them or really watch those things and then it's like, that's different, right? Like now you say, oh, I met you at the thing. I went back and checked out those books you listed in the talk, and I saw this, like I read this thing and I just don't quite understand it. I'm willing to more engage you or engage with you if you have shown a cursory something.
Don't start from zero.
Yeah. Don't start from zero when the world is vast and there's so much out there. Yeah. Like go to the local community college, ask to audit a whatever cultural course, something. It's just something, man. Like there's free stuff that the library does. I'm sure anybody listening in any city or town, there's free stuff everywhere. Cultural celebrations, and
we can put a reading list on the link for this episode too.
Listen. And
there's nothing but
those
reading
are
lists
on the Googles too, because that's where I would just pull them from.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just basically show the person that you've made an effort, to participate in the conversation. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Can we move a little bit towards even more of the work that you're making? Sure. And I mean, I'm curious how these, there's that question that is like kind of an unanswerable question of like, how do these experiences inform your work? And you're like, I don't know. I don't have any not these experiences. It's always that weird piece of like, how does being a black woman interact with how you're? And you're like, I haven't been a white man, so I don't really know.
Yeah, right. I have no idea how this.
I mean,
works.
We can share notes, and I can tell you if you want. But
I think, that's the thing. I lived so long in this culture, and that your culture is so dominant. Yeah. Not to say that I know.
No, you know it. You do. You have a way better handle.
I see it every day. Yeah. Like it's just it is what it is, and like how it informs my work is like, and I think a lot of people of color in marginalized communities, we try to make up for the void, right? And it makes me sad sometimes because we spend time that like when white folks make art, they get to make art.
And an individual gets to make art. Yeah.
When people of color make art, we have to make it for our people, and it has to be. So it's not a painting of a rose. It's a painting of a rose by a black person. So now it comes with a lot of connotations. Okay, well, wow. Was the rose coming out of the concrete, Tupac? Right? Was the rose? Is it because they're sad and enjoying their life? Is this rose a depicting a positive ray of sunlight in the oppression of the world? It becomes, and when white people make roses, they're just fucking roses, dog. Like, come on. So I spent a lot of my time making art that fills the void. Yeah. And making art that fills a void in response to art that is not including me. And I don't know how it feels to not do that.
To not just be reacting to that.
I think there's some folks that are freer in that way than others, but we all have to get there, right? Like, we started in a world that tells us that we're not included. So then the first step is, okay, well, I'm going to include myself. And I haven't broken out of the I'm going to include myself part yet. Yeah. And some folks have gone and just been like, well, I don't care. I've surpassed that. And I want to be that person at some point. Yeah. So like with the morning show that
TK
I do.
and AM.
Yes. With my co-host Conscious, we don't code switch. We don't do anything special, voice-wise, linguistically. We struggled a lot with like, do we say and I'm because like also like, I on my own show I would say the N-word, right? But I'm on your show, right? So like that's me reading the room, and I'm like trying to be.
I mean, you can say whatever you want.
Thank you. Look,
I would never, but
like there's that.
I'm comfortable with that rule. I don't know why people aren't, but
I don't know how that. But we'll come back. But like we don't code. You know what I'm saying? We don't like. We don't code switch. We just talk how we talk, and it is what it is, and you'll get it or you don't. Yeah.
And I can listen. I listen to your show. Yeah. And I can say, I can listen to the show. Yeah. I'm allowed to, even if it isn't specifically made for me. Yeah. It actually helps me see how many things are made for me.
And that's the thing. And that's another thing we wrestle with too. Yeah. Because also that like our branding is not coded black. We're not included in a lot of black lists, which is like
It's a pretty black show.
It's probably The blackest show I know. But
And you know a lot of black shows.
I know many black shows, but and that's another thing, right? So they brand it black.
Yeah.
Right? So like there's little things that you do and decisions we make, and we just didn't. We just said, this is the show name, TK and the AM.
Yeah.
The logo is just red and white and black, and that's it. Like none of that says black people. Right? So we don't get on the list like when iTunes does their Black History Month.
Yeah.
We've never been on that, but listeners are like, y'all are the blackest people
Seriously,
we ever
yeah.
heard. And also we just talk how we talk, and we don't say that this show is for black people. It just happens that we're two black people affected by things in the world that are really hitting right now, that unfortunately, this is what we're talking about. If things were all rainbows and puppies, we would be talking just about rainbows and puppies, and that would be it. Like, so it's funny because it's a black show because we're black, but it's not a black show in the terms of like, we do it for the culture.
Right. You're not making a black liberation show, but
No.
the fact that you're making your own show is an act of black liberation.
Exactly.
Although I would love now for you to make a unicorn. Just one special episode that's like, today all we're doing is unicorns and puppies.
I just need
We're just going to see.
unicorns and puppies to happen one day. One day.
So if I can make that happen,
Good
you'll
luck.
make the show happen.
I will make the show.
I'll put some calls out. I'll see.
White people, you could do that.
That's right. I'll pull together our conference.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's all conferences.
Yeah, there it is. Oh my God, you done hit on it. Now you have to get all the people together.
Yeah, that's fine. We have a shared Google document.
Yes,
We make
exactly.
all these decisions.
Like, yo, how can we make it good? One day.
One day.
One day.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll land well. I'll see what I can do.
Let me know.
I don't have as much power as you think. I'm just a cog. Terrible narrative. So I really like your show.
Thank you.
I mean, I met you and I started listening to the show, and I like how much it is what it is. Like it's not trying to do anything. I also don't feel like it's trying to, for good or for bad for you all, it doesn't seem like you are trying to brand yourselves. There are a lot of radio and podcast shows that I think the hosts are very invested in what it will lead to.
Yeah.
And I can see that you are someone who wants to make radio.
Yeah.
You're not trying to do this to get a TV show or to get a whatever the thing is. And I think that's becoming rarer and rarer. Like a lot of people seem to make content that's angling towards the next big thing.
Yeah. That's all I ever wanted to do was make radio or audio or whatever.
And you are.
And that's all I want. Like literally I'm living like right now, I guess I'm living the dream. You know, like I need the dream to come with a condo at some point.
Right.
But like I feel really good about it. But then, you know, it's external forces that make me feel bad about it. So like when Black History Month comes around and we're not included, right? Because as a black person, I still want to be part of the party,
right?
Especially when I know this is the only time.
Right.
Right?
Because you're not on the other list either.
No, I'm not on the other list, and because just by default, they just don't think of us.
Yeah.
So this is the one time folks think of us, and because we haven't put a Pan-African flag on our thing, or a fist, or whatever, because, you know, or just wrote it in the little about, you know, so it just says, hey, TK and Conscious, do this morning show and enjoy, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I have to be more descriptive, but this is part of the mathematics, so it goes through my head all the time. Okay, well, February's coming, I want to be included. Do I do it this way?
Well,
you know?
It seems like that, I mean, it sounds like one thing you're talking about is that idea of if you're black enough. And that seems tied to that you speak really well, which I know has got some loaded baggage around that. Is like, well, you've surrendered a culture to fit in rather than you getting also from that side to get to be just who you are. Like that you, like, I think there's probably some groups of folks who are like mad if anyone's code switching.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reverse too. A lot of my colleagues are like, you know, I've branded too hard. Yeah. And I can't break into the dominant culture. Yeah. Because now the dominant culture doesn't feel like they can relate to me. And I'm like, yo, you can't relate to we're talking about family, we're talking about daily strife. Like, we all have those problems. And that's the wildest thing too. So I have these conversations in reverse with colleagues, and they're like, man, should I change the name of my show? Should I do this and should I do that? And I'm like, that's a personal, like, I can't answer that for you. I'm like, first of all, what's your goal?
Yeah.
And if it's to break into the dominant culture, it's probably going to be, you should probably change,
right?
But
you also might be disappointed because that might not be enough.
It might not be enough.
You're gonna not like what you're doing as much, and you won't get what you changed for.
Yeah, and in other ways for me that manifests outside of my morning show is that I have to prove that I'm more than the morning show.
Yeah.
All right, I have to prove that I'm more than one half of two people telling the news and being real matter of fact and talking slang and saying MF and N-word and whatever. But what they don't realize is that we've had really nuanced conversations within that whole moment. But all they hear is, they think it's just Eddie Murphy.
Just red leather suits.
Just
That's
red
all
leather
I hear.
suits all day. So like I've had to prove myself in terms of like taking different kind of gigs.
Yeah.
But I love all the gigs because all I want to do is make radio. So I don't care. But I also am. I have noticed that I'm trying to be strategic. So I've produced news. Right? Or commentary that's more straight-laced. I might not be the host, but I'm the producer, and it shows that I have my hand in this thing. Or I've produced other type of marginalized people stuff that's not black, to prove, like, look, I have range. Look, Ma, I have range. Hey. So like...
One of your famous quotes.
Look, Ma, I can do 18 different... And that's also, like, the burden. Like, white people do different shit because they want to. Mm-hmm. Right? I do different shit because I got to. Mm-hmm. I gotta show and tell. So
and one thing's not stable enough.
No.
You need a bunch of table legs.
Yep. This is the gig economy, so now I really gotta show off and show out. And
well, I'm really curious about that with TK and the AM, you have an on-air talent thing happening.
Yeah.
But I know you produce that and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you're ambitious about production.
Yes.
Like you teach people how to produce radio.
Yeah. But
I think it's harder in radio production to make a name for yourself. Like on air, there's some linear paths to a name. Yeah. I have a following. People know I say these things. People care because of this. But like, hey, I follow this really dope producer on Instagram.
And then what?
Yeah. I mean, that is a whole different, like the self-marketing piece of that seems really challenging, and I wonder how you think about that. I know you are relational, so you have relationships with people you make content for and with, and there's a whole network of folks. But like, how do you think about ways to be ambitious as a producer beyond just be really good at the work? Yeah,
because that's not good. That's not enough. That's good enough,
right?
And that's great, but you have to be good at it, and then you have to be willing to tell people. You have to shout about it.
Yeah,
and I find myself shouting about it a lot. For all the reasons, right? Like that we talked about, because I need people to know that I have range.
Yeah.
I need people to know that I'm capable. I need people to know that also, like, I'm available,
Right. You have a show, so you're probably busy.
Yeah. And people have thought that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yo, this is,
I don't like downtime. Give me some work.
Give me some work. So it's like I'm promoting myself. Work begets work.
Yeah.
And then the rest is because I need to show range.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I like to know the people that I'm producing for. Like I like to know if the job, like I'm going to jive with it. Am I going to agree with the things?
So you can do your best work. Yeah.
So, if I don't like it, then I'm not going to do my best work. Or if they say some crazy stuff that I just can't, or just like, I just realized how tired, like even just to give you perspective, like I started in 2005 on terrestrial radio in New York, and I'm here now, I'm doing this online thing and I'm producing for other people. But I've been talking about people killing Black people in the news since 2005. And I've realized that maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, it was like, first it was like Mike Brown, and then it was Eric Garner, and then it was somebody, it was like two people back to back, the gentleman in Walmart, and then it was Philando Castile, right? Like it all just happened. And
Yeah.
then I like was on the air and I had this epiphany that we literally had this conversation 2 days ago or 2 weeks ago, something short. And I just got tired of having the conversation about what are we gonna do now? I'm so angry. This is BS, right? Then I traced back my career and I was like, wow, the first guy I talked about that died was Sean Bell on the eve of his wedding. And I'm like, damn, like I don't need that to be my life. So like if I work for a news show, it's got to be a pretty dope news show, right? Like, because if I'm going to be not talking about or producing, or like when you produce, you got to listen to tape over and over. And it's depressing. And right now we're in the Trump era. And do I want to do that?
Yeah.
Right? So.
And can you like sustain that?
Can I
like,
sustain
physically?
that? Yeah. And I already have to be in my body.
Yeah.
Plus go to work and do that. So, and also the contrast is that like we talk about all these current events on the morning show. Then in the afternoon, I go to my regular job at Buzzfeed and I produce a show that's entertainment.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize.
It's fun too.
Dude, it's
It's not
fun.
made for me at all. Like it is not a show for a straight dude.
Thank you for listening.
But I still, well, I love those hosts are awesome and
Yo.
it's really well produced.
Thank you very much. And actually, it's so wild because the woman that hired me, I want to give you a shout out. Hi, Julia, I love you. Woman of color, shout out to Julia Furlan. But she hired me because not just me, but the whole team. I walked into work the first day, and I looked at the table, and I was like, wait a minute. There's only one man here, and everybody else is a woman, and most of them are women of color. And she purposefully, I don't know how purposefully, but she intentionally built a team of audio professionals to support each other. So like the conversations were different in the like prep room, right? The conversations are not like, we think more about like, whoa, we haven't had a Asian person subject on the show. Should we? But it's not that should we because we haven't had one. It's just like, oh, we've had too many white people talked about. It's
right.
The reverse. Instead of like, let's throw in a token something. No, it's too many white people out here. Let's stop talking about them for a few seconds and get into this, conversation, about other stuff. So she it was this workplace where it is this workplace where I feel really safe. And I was really scared because I was in the job market and there was like microaggressions in interviews and then colleagues telling me like, you not only do we get people like they call our references, I've checked references on companies. I talk to my colleagues and they're like, girl, I'm just making it through day by day. I don't want to go to a place where you're making it through day by day for those reasons. So I went there and I was like, this is not a bad place to land. BuzzFeed has since fired everybody, but at least I got started somewhere.
Yeah.
And now I can wherever I end up, I'm at least more confident, mostly because I have the experience of BuzzFeed behind me.
And the relationships.
Yeah. And people take name brand seriously. And that's part of that whole independent to pro thing. I've been a pro, but you weren't paying attention because I didn't have the name behind me. So now armed with that and armed with a place that kind of groomed me more in a more gentler way than say a white newsroom would, that I would have to fight about bias. And I got colleagues fighting about bias and it sucks. It sucks to be them. It sucks to hear their stories. And I was so scared that was going to be me. And I'm scared that it might be me still in the future.
But now you know what a functioning room feels like.
Yeah.
So now you can be even more certain in there are other ways than this one way.
So that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm mindful of your time.
Yeah.
So my last few things, one of them I like to ask folks is, can you talk about a way or some ways in which you yourself experience privilege?
Yeah. Class. Class, yeah.
You are wearing a suit made of gold.
Right, I'm just walking around here. Class privilege for sure. I would say I'm middle class, like regular middle class, you know.
If it exists,
I can throw some stuff in the trash and be like, tomorrow, right? I mean, but also that comes with the perspective that once upon a time I couldn't do that.
Right.
And so like I think about that more, ability, and I have a lot of like people that I love in my life that have different abilities that are not, that don't include walking or whatever, or invisible disabilities and stuff. And like even the way that like our studio, Bonfire Radio Studio in Bushwick, is up a flight of stairs. And we knew this was going to be a problem, but the market in New York City is so terrible. Like that was literally the only thing in our price range. So it's like, I know this. Like sometimes we literally have to feed into the problem.
Right.
And it makes,
you're not living all your values yet.
Yeah,
but you're moving in that direction.
So I try to like be mindful, and when we have outside events, things outside the studio, we make sure to have them in a wheelchair accessible place, so things that friends could come to. Or I mean, like nobody wants to be carried up a flight of stairs. But if you really want to come to the studio, I will get two big, strong people to do that. And we've done it because the person loved us and we loved them. And we were like, okay, you want to get up there? We're going to get you up there. Yeah. And then that's some decision they made. That's not a decision we said, this is the options we got, Yeah. So that kind of like is something that like I think about so much. Like I want to get rich so that I don't have to have, like these things don't have to be a problem for my listeners. Yeah. Like I literally want to make enough money to just move out of that place so that it's just like cool. Like we on the ground floor, everybody come.
That's like my favorite kind of ambition.
Yeah.
to just lift everyone up.
That's literally.
And then last thing is, how can people get at you if they want to connect with you, learn more about the work you do, and how can you plug some of your stuff that people, how can people check out the things that you're making that I'm already a big fan of?
Mostly social media. Mm-hmm. So for me at TastyKeish, most places, Tasty, Keish, Keish. And for the morning show, TK in the AM, all the places. And even if you want to go in like your podcast feed, TK in the AM. And we are live if you want to do it that way, and you can chat with us. So you can go on bonfireradio.com and listen Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, giving you 3 reasons to wake up.
Well, TK, really appreciate your time and sharing so much of yourself with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking such amazing questions that, like, I've been asked these questions, but not like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was like a pleasure and an honor. And, bro, thanks.
Hey, y'all. Levi here. I want to thank you for listening to my conversation with Keisha TK Dutes. I couldn't be happier and luckier to know someone like TK, and I hope you'll check out the work that she's making. If this is your first time listening to the show, we've got a backlog of great episodes with amazing folks. Go check them out and share them with other people. If you have a second and you liked what you heard, you can give us a rating and a review on iTunes. That lets more people know about the show. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you listening. This is not about you.